communication to target essentially children. Unfortunately, they're not as childlike as we'd always hope. But that was another key group. But where we settled on, similar to the last group, was, and on the advice of the group, was males. And we felt that with males we could get traction because they are the key protagonists, unfortunately. And also we targeted a younger group of males, so maybe 16 to 30. But obviously it can be beyond that. And this group we felt were young enough to change their behaviors and their attitudes that lead to those behaviors. And then beyond that, there was the option fundamentally of scaring people into action, or trying to, what the metaphor we sometimes used was a Trojan horse of how can we get behavioral change without creating this social stigma about sufferers or practitioners of good behavioral practices when it comes to sex. So we settled on more of a kind of behavioral change around prevention rather than the scare tactics or the HIV testing. Again, narrowing the point.
So around that area, what was the insight that was going to help us connect with this group of males? We decided that community is something that's obviously really important in Indonesian society. And if you take that concept of community in the context of friends, for example, and in particular in the context of males, then there's the sort of thing that we thought about was if you're a bloke and if you're out and about, in town at night, and your friend, your mate gets into a fight, you're not going to leave him there. You're not going to leave him to get beaten up and to risk his life. So why on earth, as a friend, as somebody who would look out for your mate, would you let him go off with a woman and have unprotected sex, which might damage his life long term? So that was the kind of insight, and we thought we could stretch that across to a community perspective as well. So from a family perspective, you want what's best for your family, you want to look out for them, you want to protect them. So we wanted a positive message based around that. And then the other side of it was, for guys at least anyway, there was still this issue around being willing to be seen to buy condoms. So there's this, I guess, whether it's a kind of nervousness or just shyness, but not wanting to be seen to do that. So we needed to make men comfortable buying condoms. So that was part of our idea and insight as well.
Which leads us to our creative idea, which is really, really simple. Friends protect friends, family protect family. I think a different, slightly lateral way at looking at HIV argument, but I mean, in terms of simple explanation, that which may very well be our TV ad of if you're out with your friends and the bunch of you get in a fight, maybe we should have had a fight, just for but you would stick up for one another. So why is it that if you go out and you see one of your friends who might be talking to a girl, might be prepared for unprotected sex, would you let him do that? Or would you be a true friend and actually help him?
Right, that's it.
We have some more activations, but you can ask us questions about them, then we can do it. Yes, please ask us.
Well, I think since you overran on time, maybe the best way to do is to sit with the team that is looking after it. And I'm sure your activation ideas are possibly something we can actually use. Just a clarification, we are not the judges. But what we do, yes, stop looking at us, we don't decide your future or your winning. But do recommend that you work with them, and we hope after this, some of the ideas, and most of them have been wonderful, can actually be put to use. Yeah.
I don't think I'm allowed to ask about the activation at this point. I also leave it unfair to the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. To the very creative HIV PP. So we have the pop culture, the right direction. We have the vintage, paguyuban untuk masa depan. We have the very creative HIV PP. And now we have the very recent team because they're called the breakfast team. I wonder where they got this idea from. Also very creative. I'm struggling which one is more creative, HIV PP or the breakfast team. Can I have the breakfast team up front here? So remember, you only get 5 minutes. How many is 5? 5. Is 5 marvelous? Marvelous. Is Wobo marvelous? Marvelous. It's not so marvelous anymore,
Check.
Adrian. I'm losing my touch here. So is Wobo marvelous? I have a new thing. I have a couscous test. Where's Sebastian? Couscous. Are you ready? Do you need more mic?
Bang Tohib, mengapa tak pulang-pulang anakmu, anakmu, panggil namamu.
Okay, that was Bang Toyib. It was a very popular dangdut song from Indonesia, which we can use that kind of song to communicate our stuff to the lower class.
Right. So for us, the biggest problem here is not about education. It's not about how to educate. The biggest problem is that everybody think that they won't get it. Everybody, I mean us also, we think that we won't get AIDS. So there is a huge gap about that AIDS awareness and us. So the task is to make that gap closer and closer. How we do it? By the closest environment of us, which is the family.
Okay, the target audience of this campaign is more focused for the male, 25 years old more, and for the lower class. Especially we focus on the area in Pantura area. So that's why we focus on this kind of dangdut, because this is the target market of us, where the program will be starting from.
Thank you. So now I'm going to explain about our approach. We have two main concerns regarding our approach. The first one is we are concerned about babies getting infected by AIDS. So the challenge is, can we do something before conception? Okay, is there anything that we can do before, husbands and wives do their thing? We have to move backwards. So that's one. The second one is, how can we get our target segment at the right place and at the right mood where they are most receptive to our message? Now, the answer to those two questions are the wedding. We want to focus on the wedding because the wedding mostly happens before conception most of the time. But secondly, at the wedding, husbands and wives are at the right mood to hear about our message because they are going to start a new family. And better still, Indonesia already have an initiative called the mass weddings, kawin massal, which is really helping people from lower social class to get married. So it's a lot of couples getting married together. And we think that wedding makes the perfect occasion because at weddings, the newlyweds are usually made to listen to advices, tips on marriage, tips on sexuality, on religion. So why can't we write on that occasion and then infiltrate or insert our message that Gemi has said, that nobody is safe from AIDS, you can also get it, here are some of the facts that you should know, and everybody needs to begin a safe family. So at mass wedding also, we will have obviously dangdut song, which is easier to deliver the message, and also we are planning to have booth stalls where they can get more information from the NGO or from the government about the risk of AIDS. So that's the main approach.
Okay, hello. To sustain the activities, we're gonna create one song, a local song of Pantura Bebas AIDS, right? So that's gonna happen in the following year, and then we're also gonna make condoms available in bars, in gas station, in those areas of the Pantura as well. And then the most important is we're gonna make that available in Posyandu, where Posyandu is integrated healthcare for lower people. And for a long term, I'll pass it on to my friends.
Another sustainable channel is that continuing about the main ideas about using the marriage as the moment where the couples hears the advice and preaching from families and others. So in Indonesia, when couples get married, they have to go to the apa registration? Civil registration. So over there, the officers is, being approached to put some of the advice before they sign the deed of marriage about telling them about information, how to get a safe sex, and then not contributing to the. Okay.
Thank you.
Ajay, you want to explain breakfast team?
Great ideas, thank you very much. I think all of us in the last 4 presentations, the most shocking moment was when we heard the previous group say that 10 to 14 is when a lot of, I don't know the statistics, get sexually active. I mean, it's worrying, it's shocking, it's really sad, and that's what possibly causes a lot of problems with AIDS, because those people obviously don't know, don't understand. You have a great approach, great ideas. My only comment is it's very traditional. You know, you get married at a certain age, you're mature, you know a bit more. But for, I suppose, the Yaya-san and everyone, it's that 10 to 14, which is really, I think, if you had to find one target audience, how do you talk to them?
Yeah. Do you want to answer?
Maybe we can expand our campaign through the song, because dangdut is a universal music. So that's it.
Yeah, because I think we're focused on the lower SES. So apps won't work, digital won't work. So we do traditional with the right approach. Dangdut. Any more?
How would you convince the KUA or the civil registry to accept about AIDS, where AIDS itself in that level is unacceptable?
No, I think they already have the program, and we don't have to introduce the new concept. They already have an existing program.
I think my question is same as Ranjana. I think how would you target the 10 to 14, which is more alarming than the rest of the other? But okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello? Yes. So thank you. So because this is stream and you always have last minute surprises, we also have last minute presentation, submission coming in. So I'm calling, this is like the most up-to-date name ever, the last minute one-man team. Because there's only one and he's last minute. Very convincing. Okay.
Thanks. So as you can imagine, it's a very short presentation, so it's going to brief but hopefully intense. In a previous life, I used to work in an advertising agency. It was mine actually, and I used to handle some NGO, and one NGO was dedicated to water, meaning each time there is a catastrophe, the number one need it's water, because if you don't drink during 3 days, you're out. And I remember the brief was quite open, like this one, HIV prevention in Indonesia. So when me and my team, we work on it, we arrive with something really creative, really smart. We had Facebook contest with pictures and stuff like that. But we lost the pitch. And we lost it. Why? Because actually, the target was not really the people or the consumer. And globally, when you work with a few NGO, you realize that it's a sad situation, but all the NGO are in competition, the one against the other. All the causes are in competition, the one against the other. Why? Because the key of that, it's not a good idea, a good execution, or whatever. It's money. At the end of the day, if you have money, you can stop everything. Feeding the world, crisis, lack of water, HIV prevention, it's money the key thing. So when I was listening the proposal, they were really focused on people, how to make people aware that they have to do something. What me and my team, it makes things easier for ego management between creative, planning, whatever. Our idea would be more to propose something connected to the money aspect. So that's the number one thing. The target is not really the people, but it's more the people, the corporation, the organization able to found this concept. The second thing, the second insight is yesterday I was part of a discussion group about the creation of an internet organization in Indonesia. You had some publishers, some industry player, you had some agency. So you had people, and the conclusion of that is the number one goal of an association is to get members, because if you don't get members, you don't have leverage power. You don't talk to anyone. You're too small to be heard. So you realize that finally there was a lot of people around the table ready to jump into this association to create a mass volume effect. And I don't know the data in Indonesia, but roughly in Philippines last year, just the e-commerce industry, including the airline companies, around 500 million of US dollars, more or less. So now, from what I understood, it's my first stream, in the audience you have some agency, you have some publisher, you have some brands, and you have some industry players. So technically the industry is there. So I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, the US government wanted to launch something called the Tobin tax. The idea was to have a very small percentage on all the financing transactions who are connected to Wall Street, which are technically all the financing transactions. It didn't work. As you can imagine, the lobby was completely rough on that. But now let's imagine that we create, because the key agency